What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering on a late Sunday night, and I hope you appreciate the Sunday video. I have some, I think, good news to bring to all of you. And normally I would put this on my Jeremy Hambly channel, which I hope you're all subscribed to as well. If you just search Jeremy Hambly or you use the link in the description, you'll find that. And that's what I do with my weekends. But I felt like this news was really big, so I wanted to get into it. It looks like the Democrats have blinked, and they will now agree to the Republican demands and open the government effective nearly immediately. Not just restoring SNAP, but TSA and many other federal departments all on board. Let's actually look at what we know right now. Whether this is a link to my Jeremy Hambly channel, I'll put it down in the description below. I hope you'll go subscribe. And also, huge shout out to everyone. I don't know if you knew this, but we basically completely relaunched coffeebrandcoffee.com. We have Thanksgiving coming up in just 2 weeks. I can highly recommend bringing some of our medium roast or our dark roast coffee available in both ground and K-cups, but also our delicious spiked jack-o'-lantern, our fall roast maple cream or apple strudel will absolutely make you the hero of your Thanksgiving party. And if you bring it, not only will people say that's awesome, but you will help me by helping everyone else get addicted to my coffee. The first rock is free. I would greatly appreciate that. Coffeebrandcoffee.com. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Senate now eyeing deal to end the government shutdown. Breaks major hurdle as Democrats join GOP rivals to reach agreement. The Democrats blinked. Basically, at the end of the day, while yes, there are Republicans on SNAP, there were far more Democrats on SNAP benefits that these Democrat leaders knew they just couldn't, they could not continue to hold out. And this is a massive win for Republicans and Donald Trump because of the concessions that they have had to make. On top of that, I think it's also important to point out that honestly, the longer the government was staying shut down, kind of past November, this was going to start to affect Trump in a negative light also. So I think it's good that he got it open when he did, so he can also like spend the next year getting stuff actually done leading up into the midterms so that people don't turn on him. Again, huge shout out. Get that maple cream, get that apple strudel, get that hot butter rum, get that gingerbread, blackberry cream, all our silky ultra duck roast, and it's all available using free shipping via our fulfillment on Amazon if you go to coffeebrandcoffee.com. But let's look at the deal. The longest shutdown in U.S. history could finally be coming to an end after Democrats have now joined Republican rivals to strike a temporary deal to end the chaos. A breakthrough deal for the 40-day government impasse was negotiated by lawmakers, locked in a tense negotiation during a rare session on Sunday evening in an effort to find a solution. The shutdown, which has left 42 million Americans with no access to SNAP, forced airlines to cancel thousands of flights, and left more than 1 million federal workers without income. Look, the federal workers without income, I appreciate you. I love you. I have nothing against you personally for having a job. That didn't move the needle. It was the welfare. That's what it was. Nobody really gave a damn about the flight delays, at least, yes, there were some, but quite honestly, a lot of us are fine to just drive, especially if you're looking at like Thanksgiving plans. You've got 3 weeks to plan. You get your Coffee Brand coffee from coffeebrandcoffee.com. You brew up some coffee, you do that 8-hour drive instead of flying. There's a lot of people that, were fine with that. It's the 42 million Americans on welfare that really made this deal get done, the overwhelming majority of which are Democrat and or illegal aliens, in my opinion. But now there's light at the end of the tunnel after insiders have now confirmed to CNN and Axios the Republicans had secured enough Democrat votes to introduce a stopgap measure which will allow the government funding to resume until late January. So that gives them basically 3 months, 2.5 months. The measure will still be formally voted in the Senate before returning to the House and eventually to President Trump's desk for signature. Trump waited on the latest development when he returned to the White House on Sunday, telling reporters it looks like we're getting close to the shutdown ending. The deal reportedly includes a clause guaranteeing federal employees who were fired during the shutdown would have their jobs reinstated, as well as an assurance that such measures would not take place in the future. It also reportedly ensures that food stamps funding will stay through the end of the 2026 fiscal year. Of course, I mean, that's a pointless promise because if there is any kind of, any government shutdown, well, then they can't just pay that. The SNAP program, which we've talked about at length on this channel, look, I believe that there are some number of Americans in the millions that legitimately deserve SNAP. I also believe that there are Americans who should be getting SNAP, but are being denied, whether it's bureaucracy or garbage leadership, or more likely, because of the 25 million or so illegals and garbage people who are taking up those SNAP dollars. I believe that there is some amount of Americans in between jobs or on disability or whatever that genuinely need this stuff. I'm fine with that. I support that. I think we should help our fellow man. Look at me. I'm a huge liberal. But I also believe millions of Americans are taking advantage of the SNAP program, thus making it, actual people who need it look bad, but also people who need it and have been declined not get access, probably because funds are at their limit or wherever the case may be. A lot of this is, I've talked to a lot of people who I think should qualify for SNAP that simply cannot get the benefits. Again, this is much bigger than SNAP, but I imagine there are a lot of people who are on SNAP or EBT who are rejoicing at the thought of this, incessantly refreshing their SNAP balances so that they can rush to Walmart and fill up their carts to the brim, unlike many Americans who can't, but that's neither here nor there. Again, not everyone on SNAP is like a welfare queen. I talked to some people who on SNAP who only get like 50 or 75 bucks a month or $100 a month, a couple hundred. Like they're not filling 4 carts at the Walmart. I think it's important to differentiate between the two. This measure must still be formally voted on in the Senate before returning to the House eventually to Trump. The deal reportedly includes the clause I talked about. It's also reportedly ensuring food stamps. Democrats had previously voted 14 times against the Republicans' continuing resolutions to reopen the government while the negotiations were ongoing, but the pressure was just simply too much for Democrat leaders. Party leaders had up until this point refused to work with the GOP to reopen the government unless they agreed on an extension of subsidies for health plans offered on the Affordable Care Act. Despite holding a majority in Congress, Republicans only have 53 seats in the Senate, falling short of the 60 needed to pass the funding bill. Both parties have been uneasy about the shutdown escalating as things worsen for regular everyday Americans, including their constituents. The crisis, of course, reached a boiling point last week when 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP were informed that the money had run dry due to the shutdown. Well, that's, the federal employees also didn't get their paychecks and things of that nature. Already upwards of 730,000 government employees are working without pay, and a further 600,000 had been furloughed during as a result of the quote unquote crisis. I wouldn't call it a crisis. I will call it politicians being scumbags. Then the transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, warned that staffing shortages as a result of the shutdown were worsening, potentially reducing air traffic to a trickle in time for the holiday season. I mean, I think they had basically every conceivable reason to actually get the deal done. I don't think that Republicans gave up here. I think both sides will pretend that this is a victory, but it was really about not giving illegal aliens their, SNAP benefits, things like that. You see this, so the Republicans are giving up. The key to the truth, again, their souls, without even looking, we know the answer. Agreement to reinstate RIFs as far back as October 1st to keep the employment until February. Nothing. Democrats caved and have agreed to pass a Republican bill. That's what it looked like to me. That the Democrats caved. The agreement, which was negotiated in part by Senators Angus King, Gian Shahan, and Maggie Hansen, as well as GOP senators, have been more than enough members of the Senate Democrat caucus to advance, according to people anonymously, to to disclose the terms. And you see here, obviously, we'll have to know the absolute, proof of this, but the Senate is in recess till 8 o'clock Eastern tonight, 7 o'clock Central, about 4 minutes from now as I'm recording this video. But it seems like the Democrats caved on nearly every point. Amazing how they always find a quick fix when their own paychecks are online. Well, I think a lot of this too is with Mamdani finally getting elected. Now they were like, okay, we'll talk about it. Then we got our commie in the office, so now we're in it. But again, President Trump has officially backed the Senate's plan to reopen the government, which gives no money to illegals or to Obamacare. At least 10 Democrats are already on board to end the shutdown. Hold the line, do not give in to Schumer's demands. This is obviously a big part of it. The no money for illegals, no money for Obamacare. These are big, big wins. I think the Republicans held the line here, and we need to get back to work. Like, Trump has only so long till the midterms. He needs to get, voter ID installed at the federal level if we want to have any chance whatsoever in the midterms. While all these Republicans are quote unquote purity testing each other, I'm more worried about the midterm elections, which are coming up next fall, and I want us to be able to win. So getting the government back up and running is step one. Step two, reforming SNAP. Step two is, federal voter ID. But step three would be obviously reforming SNAP in a big way. But right now, there's just too many people who need it. I think it was a huge optics loss for Republicans the longer it went on. Now that it looks like it's over, you see the left is melting down. This is a cave. Chuck Schumer is caving. Calls office now and say, hold the line and effing resign and let real fighters take over. Kyle Kalinske melting down. That means we're winning. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to go subscribe to my personal channel, which I uploaded 2 videos over this weekend you probably haven't seen. And make sure you pick up some of our delicious fall blends for your Thanksgiving holiday. If it's fulfilled by Amazon through our site, which I'll leave linked in the description, you get free shipping. Strawberries and cream, spiked jack-o'-lantern, blueberry cobbler, butterscotch toffee, apple strudel, and maple cream, hot buttered rum, all ready to rock for your holiday. And not only that, you can help me out by getting your family hooked on my delicious coffee. I really appreciate that. Congrats to Republicans. It looks like this is a huge win. We'll be back tomorrow morning at noon Eastern with a standalone video, and we'll talk to you again real soon.